Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next hour. World leaders condemn Israeli airstrike on aid workers, calls for a transparent investigation. Israel admits convoy hit unintentionally, promises independent investigation. US President Joe Biden speaks to Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping on phone, talks about Taiwan, AI and tech issues. In Turkey, at least 29 people killed during daytime renovation work at a nightclub in Istanbul. On to the details now. Leaders worldwide condemned the deaths of 7 aid workers in an Israeli airstrike in Gaza. British, Australian, Polish, a US-Canadian dual citizen and Palestinian nationals were killed when their convoy was attacked on Monday night. The World Central Kitchen had immediately paused its operations in the region. And the White House said it was outraged by an Israeli airstrike in Gaza that killed 7 people working for World Central Kitchen. U.S. National Security Council Coordinator for Strategic Communications John Kirby said that President Joe Biden called the charity aid group's founder to share his condolences.
We were outraged to learn of an IDF strike that killed a number of civilian humanitarian workers yesterday from the World Central Kitchen, which has been relentless in working to get food to those who are hungry in Gaza and, quite frankly, around the world. We send our deepest condolences to their families and loved ones. We expect a broader investigation to be conducted and to be done so in a swift and comprehensive manner. We hope that those findings will be made public and that there is appropriate accountability held.
Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said on Wednesday his country was outraged by the completely unacceptable death of an Australian aid worker in Gaza from an Israeli airstrike. Albanese said he spoke with his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu and conveyed Australia's anger and concern at the death of aid worker Zomi Francom.
I spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu this morning with a phone call that was organised overnight. I expressed Australia's anger and concern at the death of Zomi Francom. This is completely unacceptable. The Israeli government has accepted responsibility for this, and Prime Minister Netanyahu conveyed his condolences to the family of Zomi Francom and to Australia as a result of this tragedy.
Well, Britain on Tuesday summoned the Israeli ambassador with the deaths of aid workers in Gaza. Foreign Secretary David Cameron posted on social media platform X that he had spoken with his Israeli counterpart Israel Katz to underline that the deaths were completely unacceptable. He added Israel must urgently explain how this happened and make major changes to ensure safety of aid workers on the ground. And the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that Israeli strikes on World Central Kitchen and aid workers was devastating. Speaking at a session in United Nations General Assembly, the UN chief said that the attacks on aid workers in Gaza was unconscionable.
The devastating Israeli airstrikes that killed World Central Kitchen personnel yesterday bring the number of aid workers killed in this conflict to 196, including more than 175 members of our own UN staff. This is unconscionable, but it is an inevitable result of the way the war is being conducted. It demonstrates yet again the urgent need for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire, the unconditional release of all hostages, and the expansion of humanitarian aid into Gaza, as the Security Council demanded in its resolution last week. The resolution must be implemented without delay.
Well, United Nations spokesperson Stephen Dujarric said that the killing of 7 World Central Kitchen aid workers in Gaza is the inevitable result of the conflict. He said the UN yet again calls for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in the 6-month-long conflict between Israel and Hamas.
The message is let humanitarian workers do their job, right? They need to be able to do it in safety. We've seen the statements come out of Israel saying that there's an investigation going on. It will be made public. We very much look forward to that. But we also remember that a number of our colleagues have also been killed in strikes on UNRWA premises, on locations that were deconflicted. So there was UNRWA, UNDP, IOM, World Food Program. They were also in places that were clearly deconflicted.
Also, United Nations spokesperson Stephen Dujarric said that the killing of 7 WCK aid workers in Gaza is the inevitable result of the conflict. He said the UN yet again calls for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in the 6-month-long conflict between Israel and Hamas. Also, Israeli Chief of Staff Herzi Halevi apologized on Wednesday for the unintentional harm to the members of the World Central Kitchen in Gaza. He said an independent body will carry out a thorough investigation. He added that the findings of the investigation will be shared with the World Central Kitchen and other relevant international organizations.
This incident was a grave mistake. Israel is at a war with Hamas, not with the people of Gaza. We are sorry for the unintentional harm to the members of WCK. We share in the grief of their families as well as the entire World Central Kitchen organization from the bottom of our hearts. An independent body will investigate the incident thoroughly. We will complete it in the next coming days. We will learn from the conclusions and implement them immediately. We will share in full transparency the findings of the investigation with the World Central Kitchen and other international relevant organizations. We see great importance in the continued delivery of humanitarian aid, and we will keep working to facilitate this vital effort.
Well, an earthquake with a magnitude of 7.7 hit Taipei, the capital of Taiwan, on Wednesday morning. The Taiwan Central Weather Administration said the epicenter of the quake was in waters off the eastern coastline of Taiwan Island. The quake knocked out power in several parts of the city. The quake was also felt in Shanghai. Meanwhile, Taipei's city government said it has not yet received any reports of major damage. The Chinese state media stated it was felt in Fujiao, Xiamen, Guangzhou and Ningde in China's Fujian province.
Whoa. Gosh.
Meanwhile, following the tsunami warnings triggered after a powerful earthquake, Japan has issued an evacuation advisory for the coastal areas of the southern prefecture of Okinawa. Japan's weather department has said that tsunami waves of up to 3 meters were expected to reach large areas of Japan's southwestern coast, while Philippines have also issued a tsunami warning following a strong Taiwan quake. On the other hand, U.S. President Joe Biden and China's President Xi Jinping had their first conversation since November. Both the leaders spoke about Taiwan, AI and regular communication. They also reportedly engaged in tough issues as a way to manage their often rocky relationship. Nick Harper reports for more from Washington.
Well, the White House says it was a candid and constructive discussion lasting about an hour and 45 minutes. And it was an opportunity to build on some of the issues the two leaders discussed when they last spoke back in November at a face-to-face meeting in California. Things like collaboration on climate change, counter-narcotics cooperation, how to counter the spread of fentanyl, and ongoing military-to-military communication. But the White House also made it clear that President Joe Biden raised a number of major concerns that the US has with Beijing, In particular, we're told that Biden pushed Washington's concern about any attempts by Beijing to bring Taiwan under its influence and control. Also, concerns about Chinese military build-up in the South China Sea and perceived aggression towards US allies like the Philippines. And Washington's worries about China's support of Russia in its war against Ukraine. This was a chance to try and diffuse tensions between the two countries that have been rocky for many months. Both leaders, we're told, underscored the value that they see in frequent engagements and the attempt to return to regular phone calls. However, there was no agreement out the back of this call for the two men to meet again face to face. While the White House said it was possible, there was no firm commitment from either side or a firm date. However, in the coming weeks there will be a series of high-level engagements, with the US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and Secretary of State Antony Blinken due to travel to Beijing in the coming weeks. In Washington, Nick Harper, reporting for DD India.
And DD India correspondent Laura Westbrook joins us from Hong Kong for more. Well, Laura, can you tell us about the significance of these important talks?
Yes, this was the first call between the two presidents since they met in San Francisco last November, where ties partly stabilized. There have been tensions between the two countries, and this call was really seen as another attempt to try and stabilize those tensions and create more dialogue. The two leaders discussed a range of issues, from artificial intelligence to military communications. Mr. Biden wrote on Twitter following the call that he looked forward to responsibly managing the relationship in the weeks and months ahead, while President Xi Jinping that he hoped to strengthen dialogue in a mutually respectful way. But the US did push its view. It stressed that the importance of peace in the Taiwan Strait, as well as the rule of law and navigation in the South China Sea. Xi Jinping in China said the US interference in the South China Sea was a red line. And analysts are really saying that this call was a way to show the world that the two leaders of the two world's biggest economies are speaking, and then there is dialogue. But there is still significant tensions between the two countries, not least over Taiwan, as well as over trade, and as well in Hong Kong. Hong Kong passed a domestic national security law, and the US State Department has said that it will impose visa restrictions on some Hong Kong officials that it deemed responsible for a crackdown on freedoms here.
All right. Also, Laura, after the powerful earthquake which was there yesterday, there has been a tsunami warning. What is the current status there right now?
Yes, in Taiwan, 2 minutes before 8 a.m. local time, there was an earthquake off the eastern coast of the country, and it was the strongest quake since 1999. That was when, in that earthquake, more than 2,000 people died. Tremors were felt in Taipei, and tremors, according to reports, are continued to be felt in Taipei and Hualien on the eastern, that's the city in the eastern coast of Taiwan. And rescuers there, they are assessing damage. We're hearing reports that buildings have collapsed and that people are trapped. And rescuers are still assessing the damage there. In Taipei, we're hearing reports that the metro has resumed and people are returning to work. But in Japan, there was a tsunami warning that's been downgraded to a tsunami advisory, and an evacuation advisory also in the southern prefecture of Okinawa.
All right. Thank you so much, Laura, for that information from there. And moving on, a fire at an Istanbul nightclub during renovations on Tuesday has left at least 29 people dead. The nightclub, which was closed for renovations, was on the ground floor of a 16-story residential building in the Besiktas district on the European side of the city. The Istanbul governor's office said a further 8 people were injured, with 7 of those in serious condition. Arrest warrants were issued for 5 people, including the management of the club and the person responsible for the renovations. Also, protests in southeast Turkey escalated after Turkish authorities prevented a pro-Kurdish party mayor from taking office, resulting in police clashes. Hundreds of people took to the streets in the Batman province against the replacement of pro-Kurdish DEM party's Abdullah Zeydan with AK party's mayoral candidate in Sunday's elections. Protesters fired firecrackers at police, who sprayed them with water cannons, while scores of security personnel were stationed around Hakkari. And still to come on DD India News Hour. In Portugal, minority government takes charge. Luis Montenegro sworn in as Portuguese Prime Minister. Apostle Ship of the Sea provides assistance in Baltimore port. US opens second channel enabling smaller vessels to navigate the port of Baltimore. And one of the oldest books in existence, the Cross by Shoyan Codex, written around 250 to 350 AD, heads for the auction.
As the cycle of accountability returns, the time has come when the biggest democracy chooses to write another chapter in its glorious history. Development, justice, regionalism, a big political canvas. Everything will be put to test in this mega battle for glory. DD India dissects what makes elections 2024 the battle royale in Indian politics. Data and analysis free from bias to help you understand why India matters. Great Indian Election on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, the US Secretary of State has held talks with the French president as part of a trip to France and Belgium. The Middle East and Ukraine were the top issues on the agenda. DD India's Ross Cullen reports for more.
Well, Antony Blinken and Emmanuel Macron met on Tuesday. Earlier in the day, Antony Blinken had met his French counterparts, the French Foreign Minister Stéphane Séjourné. And Mr. Séjourné updated Mr. Blinken on his recent trip to China, where he pressed Beijing to use its influence with Moscow to try to bring about an end to the conflict in Ukraine. Earlier on Tuesday, Mr. Blinken toured a weapons factory here in France with the French Defence Minister, saying it was crucial for Western allies to keep up the support for Kiev, particularly providing ammunition to the Ukrainian armed forces. Now, the Middle East was the other major issue for Mr. Blinken and Mr. Macron to discuss on Tuesday, particularly given the ongoing pressure from countries like the United States and France on Israel not to go ahead with its planned offensive in the south of the Gaza Strip around the city of Rafah. Also, the talks between the French president and the United States Secretary of State coming after the killing of Iranian generals in an airstrike believed to have been carried out by Israel inside Syria, and also those talks coming after the deaths of several aid workers after Israeli jets mistakenly targeted the group distributing aid in the Gaza Strip. France has twice this year hosted talks between the United States, Qatar, Egypt and Israel to try to find a deal to release the hostages still being held by Hamas, and also to secure an end to the conflict and discussions of a two-state solution going forward. Now, those talks were held on Tuesday. On Wednesday, the next destination for Mr. Blinken was Brussels, where he will be attending the meeting of NATO foreign ministers. In Paris, Ross Cullen reporting for DD India.
Well, the United States has warned Iran not to retaliate against it for an attack on Iran's embassy compound in Syria on Tuesday, stating it had no prior warning. U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Robert Wood, said, "We will not hesitate to defend our personnel and repeat our prior warnings to Iran and its proxies not to take advantage of the situation."
We will not hesitate to defend our personnel and repeat our prior warnings to Iran and its proxies not to take advantage of the situation. Again, an attack in which we had no involvement or advanced knowledge to resume their attacks on U.S. personnel. Even as we continue to learn more about this incident, it seems clear that every member of this Council should reiterate that all states, including Iran and Syria, have a responsibility to avoid the path of escalation, to stop arming and advising terrorist groups, and to rein in the actions of proxies who threaten regional peace and security.
Well, satellite imagery released by Maxa Technologies showed an overview of Damascus after the attack. Meanwhile, U.S. National Security spokesman John Kirby on Tuesday said that Iran is helping Russia manufacture drones for use in Ukraine. Kirby also added that the White House was not aware of Iran supplying missiles for use in Ukraine.
I am not aware of specific verification that we can give to Iranian missiles being delivered to Russia for use in Ukraine. They certainly continue to deliver drones and actually helping the Russians manufacture Iranian-designed drones. And we do know that the Russians are and have been using now for quite some time ballistic missiles that they have gotten from North Korea. But I'm not personally aware of any verification that Iranian missiles have been transferred and used.
And NATO foreign ministers meet on Wednesday to discuss how to put military support for Ukraine on a long-term footing, including a proposal for a €100 billion 5-year fund and a plan seen as a way to Trump-proof aid for Kyiv. The plans will be discussed during a two-day meeting in Brussels that will celebrate the 75th anniversary of the founding of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization and prepare for a summit of alliance leaders in Washington in July. NATO decisions require consensus among the alliance's 32 members. The meeting comes as NATO is seeking a new leader to succeed Stoltenberg, who has been in post for nearly 10 years. And Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Tuesday that his country was answering Russian strikes with longer-range responses after a Ukrainian drone attack on an oil refinery 1,300 kilometers from its own borders. In his lightly video address, Zelensky said responses were just as important as helping Ukrainians who were suffering from enemy attacks.
Українці, українки, зараз в Дніпрі тривають рятувальні роботи.
Rescue operations are currently underway in Dnipro after a Russian missile strike. In particular, buildings of a collapse and a kindergarten have been damaged. All services are on site. I thank everyone who is responding, who is going to the strike sites in order to provide assistance to people as quickly as possible. This is the most important thing.
Also, a Russian missile attack on Tuesday injured 18 people and damaged an educational facility in Ukraine's city of Dnipro. Russia has recently stepped up its attacks on Ukraine, carrying out the largest strike on grid infrastructure during the two-year-old war on March 22nd. It has also increased the usage of harder-to-intercept ballistic missiles. And Russian air defense units downed 4 Ukrainian drones late on Tuesday over the border region of Kursk and one more over the adjacent Belgorod region, the Russian Defense Ministry said. There was no reports of injuries or damage. Drone attacks on southern Russian regions occur daily, and the Ukrainian military has also engaged in shelling, particularly in Belgorod. The state-run television KRT said North Korea successfully test-fired a new mid- to long-range solid-fuel hypersonic missile on Wednesday. KRT released a video of state's leader Kim Jong-un overseeing the launch and lauding it as a strategic weapon that demonstrates the absolute superiority of North Korea's defense technology. As per the state media, Kim said North Korea has fully turned all tactical, operational and strategic-grade missiles of different ranges into solid fuel with warhead control and capable of nuclearization. North Korea fired a suspected intermediate-range ballistic missile into the sea, drawing swift condemnation from South Korea, Japan and the United States. Well, a ruling party mayor candidate was shot dead in central Mexico during an event on the first day of her campaign. Gisela Gayton was the only female candidate in Celaya. Gayton had just presented a security strategy plan before a rally in Celaya, Guanajuato, when gunmen opened fire, killing her instantly. Guanajuato's state prosecutor said it was investigating the killing. No arrests have been made. Mexican elections have been marred by political violence for years, but figures suggest it is getting worse. A report by Political Risk Consultancy found 24 aspiring electoral candidates were killed between September 1st and April 1st, while the government on Tuesday said 14 people who had publicly stated they would run in elections had been assassinated since October 2023. Well, the United Nations Human Rights Chief said on Tuesday that Haiti was witnessing an unprecedented level of human rights abuses as the country finds itself plunged into chaos by gang violence and the absence of a functioning government. In a video message to the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva, Volker Turk, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, noted there had been a shocking rise in killings and kidnappings. The UN Human Rights Office said last week that gang violence had killed more than 1,500 people in the first 3 months of the year.
There
has been a shocking rise in killings and kidnappings. Sexual violence, particularly targeting women and young girls, is pervasive and very likely to have reached levels not seen before. As the number of people internally displaced rises over 360,000 now, so too does the further risk of sexual violence as people find themselves away from their homes and their communities. The scale of human rights abuses is unprecedented in modern Haitian history.
Well, Donald Trump has posted a $175 million bond tied to his civil fraud case. This comes a week after an appeals court substantially reduced the amount the former president needed to pay. William Denselo reports for more from New York.
In a series of social media posts, Donald Trump accused the legal system of being corrupt and politicized and railed against the fact he had to pay a bond before the appeals process is concluded. Donald Trump was ordered to pay roughly $450 million after a New York judge found that he'd inflated the value of his assets for favourable terms from lenders. But just last week, an appeals court lowered that figure to $175 million as Trump continues to fight the judge's ruling. In a statement, a lawyer for Trump said he made the payment as promised and looked forward to vindicating his rights on appeal. The bond was secured through Knight Specialty Insurance Company. The chairman of the group that owns the insurance firm is said to be a Trump supporter. But speaking to US broadcaster ABC News, Don Hankey said it was more of a business decision than personal allegiance. The bond payment has dampened speculation that Trump may have bank assets frozen or assets seized to cover his legal penalties. But if his appeal is rejected, he'll be forced to pay the full figure to the tune of $464 million. The former president's due back in court later this month for the start of a criminal trial here in Manhattan. He's accused of paying hush money to a porn star ahead of the 2016 presidential election. He denies wrongdoing and says all his various legal battles are politically motivated. William Denslow in New York reporting for DD India.
Portugal's centre-right Prime Minister Luís Montenegro sworn in as Portugal's new Prime Minister in Lisbon's Ajuda Palace. The Democratic Alliance coalition won the March 10th election by a slim margin over the incumbent Socialist Party. With just 80 seats in the 230-seat legislature, the AD will need the support of either the far-right Chega party or the centre-left PS, which secured 78 seats to pass legislation. Chega has demanded a government role or a long-term agreement to support the AD, but Montenegro has repeatedly refused to even negotiate. Montenegro has promised tax reductions for families and companies, higher pensions and wage hikes for police, teachers and doctors.
I want to be very clear with the Portuguese. This government is here to govern the 4.5 years of legislature. It is here to initiate a structural transformation of the economy and the state. Because this is the only way to create more wealth, to pay better wages, to retain our young people and our talent.
And 6 primary school students were killed and 14 others were injured when a refrigerator truck veered into a group of children in the southern Iraqi city of Basra on Tuesday. According to initial information, the driver lost control after the truck's brakes failed and plowed into a group of students from a nearby primary school. Hospital sources said some of the wounded children are in critical condition with severe head injuries. Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammad Shia al-Sultani ordered an immediate investigation into the fatal accident. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. An ecological organization in Kazakhstan said on Tuesday that a large oil spill had been captured by satellite imagery in the northern Caspian Sea. The spill is near Kazakhstan's giant Kashagan oil field. The U.S. opened a second channel for smaller vessels to navigate the Port of Baltimore on Tuesday. A team including the U.S. Coast Guard, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the state of Maryland announced that crews had cleared a channel with a depth of 14 feet. However, most commercial shipping remains blocked. One of the boldest books in existence is heading to the auction. The Cross by Shonyen Codex from Egypt was written around 250 to 350 AD at a time before the Bible as we know it was assembled. It consists of 104 pages and was written by one scribe over a period of 40 years in one of the very first Christian monasteries in Upper Egypt, founded by Saint Pachomius. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Campaigning heats up for the upcoming general elections, leaders to hold rallies to woo voters. India's Minister of Health and Family Welfare will chair a meeting with various stakeholder agencies to review preparedness to tackle heat-related illness. An art and craft exhibition organized by the India's Border Security Force, organized in New Delhi, is now open for public.
As the cycle of accountability returns, the time has come when the biggest democracy chooses to write another chapter in its glorious history. Development, justice, regionalism, a big political canvas. Everything will be put to test in this mega battle for glory. DD India dissects what makes elections 2024 the battle royale in Indian politics. Data and analysis free from bias to help you understand why India matters. Great Indian Election on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kurana and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. World leaders condemn Israeli strike on aid workers, calls for a transparent investigation. Israel admits convoy hit unintentionally, promises independent investigation. US President Joe Biden speaks to Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping on phone, talks about Taiwan, AI and tech issues. And in Turkey, at least 29 people killed during daytime renovation work at a nightclub in Istanbul. Well, moving on, India's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ruchira Kamboj, praised the commendable work done by Akshay Patra Foundation in ensuring food security and nutrition to the millions of children. Kamboj was speaking at the United Nations session titled Achievements in Food Security, India's Strides Towards Sustainable Development Goals.
The Akshay Patra Foundation's relentless efforts in serving billions of meals celebrate and carry forward these cherished traditions. Akshay Patra has served meals to countless children, ensuring the makers of the world's future are well nourished.
Well, Kamboj further emphasized India's progress in tackling poverty, with over 415 million people stepping out of it, significantly ahead of the 2030 target.
We are taking bold steps, especially in eradicating poverty. Over 415 million people in India have stepped out of poverty. Among the 25 countries that halved their multi-dimensional poverty within 15 years. much ahead of 2030.
And now let's get to you the latest on the world's largest democratic elections in India. Well, ahead of the general election 2024, India's Union Minister and Bharatiya Janata Party leader Amit Shah will hold a public rally in northern city of Muzaffarnagar in Uttar Pradesh today. Later on, Shah will also meet the Lok Sabha core group in Muradabad. Discussions on election strategy and key priorities for the state will likely take the centre stage during the meet. Indian leaders are leaving no stone unturned to campaign for the upcoming elections. Union Defence Minister and BJP leader Rajnath Singh will also hold a public meeting at the northern city of Ghaziabad in Uttar Pradesh today. He will also attend the nomination filing event of party's candidate Atul Garg. BJP President JP Nadda will address two public rallies in Uttarakhand today. Following his campaign, he will meet with the Asane Society in the city of Haridwar on Thursday. Nadda's rally comes a day after Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the state. BJP candidate and lower house speaker Om Birla will file his nominations today. He is contesting from northwestern state of Rajasthan's parliamentary constituency, Kota Bundli. Also, Congress party leader Rahul Gandhi will file his nomination papers for Wayanad Lok Sabha seat in southern state of Kerala today, seeking re-election. Before filing of his nomination, the Congress leader will hold a roadshow in his constituency. And DD India's correspondent Sunit Sukuramaran joins us from Wayanad in Kerala. Well, Sunit, Rahul Gandhi got massive votes last time here in that state. What's the trend this time?
Actually, Wayanad is one of the youngest constituencies, Lok Sabha constituencies in Kerala. So it was formed in 2019 only. Since then, only the Congress candidates are being elected from this constituency. So definitely, it is one of the sure shot seat for the Congress. So, like last time, the trend went so favorable to Rahul Gandhi because it was a surprise entry for the entire Keralites. Because Rahul Gandhi, one of the national leaders, is going to seek election in going to be a candidate in Wayanad. So definitely, it's it became a huge. It made a huge impact all over the state, and as a result, Rahul Gandhi secured a margin of more than 4 lakhs votes in 2019 election, and also Congress party has got more than 19 seats in 2019 election. But this time, I would say the trend has completely changed because in 2019, the basic campaign for the Congress party was Rahul Gandhi is going to be the next prime minister, and more cabinet ministers will be in the union ministry. Like this was the main campaign for the Congress party. But after all these, in the last 5 years, nothing much has happened in Wayanad, especially with the development issues. And also Wayanad is one of the hill station, and definitely it has a lot of demand. But none of these things are being addressed in the last 5 years. And another problem that in this upcoming election, the opposition parties like BJP and CPI and LDF, they are mainly campaigning against Rahul Gandhi. Is that Rahul Gandhi is not visiting Wayanad not frequently, not addressing their problem. So what their question is do they need a candidate who visits this constituency very rarely, or somebody who can be available for them always? So definitely, a lot of development issues needs to be addressed. But
right. Also, Sunit, there are many minorities in that area. What do you think the role they will play during the elections?
Actually, this Wayanad, this constituency, it's a minority people is the majority. So definitely they play an important role in every election. Since 2009 onward, Wayanad has been witnessing that. Not only the Wayanad places, the neighboring districts like Calicut and Malappuram, which is, most of the voters from these areas are minority people. So definitely the issue that is being connected, that has connections with the minorities, always plays a role in every election. For example, it's like CAA and uniform civil codes, like these kind of minority issues definitely will play a very good role in every election. So, like in this, this time, Rahul Gandhi, definitely Rahul Gandhi, when we are talking to the people and just taking their opinion, Rahul Gandhi may win. That is their, that is the people's opinion. But definitely, the margin will be very less.
All right, Sunit. Also, what are the current issues there right now, which you think are going to impact the vote?
There are many local current issues right now, especially Wayanad is neighboring with many forests Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. So it's like it's crossing borders with some tiger reserves, some forest areas. So definitely, the people who are staying in the border areas has been witnessing a lot of wild animal attacks very recently. Many people got killed from these wild animal attacks. So, but none of the representatives from this constituency has addressed this matter into the higher level. And also, it's a tourism place because it's one of the biggest hill stations in Kerala. But the tourism industry has been going down for the last so many years. So people need some kind of development. Not many development has happened in this Wayanad constituency for the past 15 years. So definitely that will, impact. That will make an impact in the upcoming election.
All right. Thank you so much, Sunit, for that information from Kerala. And moving on, Rashtriya Janata Dal's candidate Bima Bharti will file her nomination from the high-profile Purnia seat of eastern state of Bihar today, whereas Congress leader Papu Yadav will also file his nomination from this seat on Thursday. And on the last day of his two-day tour to Madhya Pradesh, BJP National President JP Nadda will participate in various programs in Indore and Ujjain in Madhya Pradesh on Wednesday. Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Mohan Yadav will also participate in the events with Nadda. BJP candidate from Khajuraho, Vishnudat Sharma, will file his nomination in Panna in the presence of Union Minister Smriti Irani and Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Dr. Mohan Yadav. Both leaders will also attend a public meeting. Meanwhile, Congress General Secretary Jitendra Singh, State Congress President Jitu Patwari, Rajya Sabha MP Vivek Tankha and Arun Yadav will jointly visit Betul, Hoshangabad, Tikamgarh and Khajuraho on Wednesday. And India correspondent Aditya Srivastav joins us from Bhopal in Madhya Pradesh. Well, Aditya, what significant rallies are planned today there in the state as this today is an important day with many rallies planned?
Yes, as we know that today JP Nadda, President of Bharatiya Janata Party, MP visit the second and last day in Madhya Pradesh. Yesterday he had in Jabalpur, Shahdol. Shahdol is the tribal seat of Madhya Pradesh out of 29. Today JP Nadda will visit Indore.
All right. Aditya, are you there with us? And we've lost control with Aditya for now. We'll move on to other news. Well, did you know that 9 Indian Prime Ministers have been elected from the state of Uttar Pradesh? Our next report tells you why UP is the country's most politically significant state.
The North Indian state of Uttar Pradesh is the amalgamation of history, religion, culture and politics. It's the birthplace of Lord Ram and Lord Krishna. The former was born in Ayodhya, while the latter was born in Mathura. Though fourth largest in terms of geographical area, covering over 243,000 square kilometers, UP is India's most populous state. It has 80 seats in the Lok Sabha, the lower house of the Indian Parliament, highest among all the states in the country. The people of Uttar Pradesh are voting in all 7 phases of 2024 general elections. The voting dates are April 19th and 26th, May 7th, 13th, 20th, 25th and 1st of June. UP has over 153 million voters, out of which 81.7 million are male and 71.7 million are women, and more than 6,600 voters belong to the third gender. The state also holds the record of sending 9 of the 15 prime ministers India has had since independence, who won their respective Lok Sabha elections from various constituencies in the state. India's incumbent Prime Minister Narendra Modi also got elected to the Lok Sabha from the holy city of Varanasi. The state is currently being governed by the Bharatiya Janata Party and other prominent parties which are also participating in the general elections include regional forces like Samajwadi Party, the Bahujan Samaj Party and the Rashtriya Lok Dal. The Temple of Lord Ram, which was recently inaugurated in the state at the temple city of Ayodhya, features prominently in the 2024 election campaigns. During the 2019 polls, constructing the temple was one of BJP's key poll promises. In the last general elections, of the 80 seats that went to polls, BJP won 62, while the BSP and SP contested in an alliance that bagged 10 and 5 seats respectively. BJP's coalition partner Apna Dal Sonilal got 2 seats and the Congress bagged 1. It is often said that a party's performance in the Lok Sabha polls in Uttar Pradesh also determines its overall fortunes in the general elections, making UP India's most politically significant state. Election Desk, DT India.
And India's Minister of Health and Family Welfare, Mansukh Mandaviya, will chair a meeting with various stakeholder agencies on Wednesday to review preparedness to tackle heat-related illness due to heat waves. The meeting will be attended by several officials from Niti Aayog, Indian Council of Medical Research, All India Institute of Medical Sciences for the auction plan for upcoming summer season. India's Meteorological Department said that most parts of the country are likely to witness above normal maximum temperatures during April to June, with 10 to 20 days of heat waves expected in different parts of the country. And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. Australian Navy Chief Vice Admiral Mark Hammond is on a visit to India. He will lay wreath at National War Memorial in capital New Delhi. There will also be a guard of honour for the Navy Chief Vice Admiral. The Indian Border Security Force organised an art and craft exhibition at Ashwini BSF Officers Institute in New Delhi on Tuesday. The exhibition will go on till 5th of April and is open to the public. More than 115 BSF personnel and their families took part in this exhibition. The exhibition witnessed a wide range of artwork, including paintings, wood-carved statues, bamboo art and instrumental music. A tourist resort in Gulmarg, located in Jammu and Kashmir, hosted a mega water awareness program under the Systematic Voters Education and Electoral Participation. Ahead of India's general elections, the event was organized at several venues, including Kilan Marg, Kangduri, Afarvat, which is the highest peak in Gulmarg. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Lucknow Super Giants registered their second win of IPL 2024 season, beating Royal Challengers Bengaluru by 28 runs. We'll tell you more ahead. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. Lipakshi Kunaran on to some business news now. The US stock slumped on Tuesday as investors considered chances of delay in lowering of interest rates by Federal Reserve. Tesla shares dropped after the electric car maker posted fewer quarterly deliveries for the first time in nearly 4 years. Tesla was among the biggest drags on the S&P 500 and Nasdaq. Recent solid US economic reports have raised doubts about whether the Fed could deliver the 3 rate cuts outlined in its latest forecast. The S&P 500 lost 0.72%, while the Nasdaq Composite lost 0.95%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 1.00%. Well, the United Kingdom and the United States are working together on testing artificial intelligence models after signing the first agreement of its kind on AI safety. The partnership is aimed at ensuring the technology is developed safely and in a way that harnesses its potential. Julia Chapman reports for more from London.
US Secretary of Commerce Gina Raimondo called artificial intelligence the defining technology of our generation. She was speaking at a signing ceremony in Washington alongside UK Technology Secretary Michelle Donnellan. The UK and the US have agreed to share capabilities and risks and carry out at least one joint test on a publicly available AI model. They also plan to deepen cooperation between government institutes established in each country to tackle the challenges and opportunities presented by AI. Raimondo says the deal will help address national security risks and other concerns across society. Fears surrounding AI range from the technology replacing jobs to being used for bioterrorism. The UK has so far taken a fairly light approach to regulating the AI sector. In the US, President Joe Biden has signed an executive order mandating that results of safety tests for the most advanced models of AI must be shared with the government. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has worked to position the UK as a major player in the field of AI. He hosted a summit on AI safety late last year, bringing together international governments and industry leaders, including representatives from India. The UK and the US say AI safety is a global issue, and they will be looking to deepen cooperation with other countries as well as each other. Julia Chapman in London, reporting for DD India.
Well, India's manufacturing sector activity experienced a robust growth, expanding rapidly in 16 years due to rising demand, as per a survey. The HSBC Final India Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index, compiled by S&P Global last month, increased to 59.1 from February's 56.9, the highest level since February 2008. The survey reveals that the manufacturing sector gained momentum in March, with the strongest increases in output and new orders since October 2020. The reading remained above the 50 mark, indicating growth for the 33rd consecutive month, marking the longest streak since July 2013. According to the report, there was an improvement in job creation in March. While the rate of job creation remained subdued, it was the best since September 2023. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for some sports news. Lucknow Super Giants on Tuesday registered their second win of the IPL 2024 season, beating Royal Challengers Bengaluru by 28 runs at the Chinnaswamy Stadium in Bengaluru. LSD put up a total of 181 for 5 before RCB. Quinton de Knox 81 and Nicholas Purin's unbeaten 40 run before youngster Mayank Yadav's 3-wicket haul helped bundle RCB out for 153 in 19.4 overs. Mayank Yadav left one and all amazed, bowling the fastest delivery of the season. Following Tuesday's victory, LSD ascended to the 4th position in the standings. Meanwhile, Bengaluru's defeat saw them plummet down to 9th position. Meanwhile, Delhi Capitals will take on Kolkata Knight Riders in the match 16 of IPL 2024 season at the VDCA International Stadium in Visakhapatnam today. Delhi will be aiming at a second straight win in the 2024 when they host a high-flying Kolkata Knight Riders. DC broke their 2-game losing streak by producing a fantastic performance against reigning champions Chennai Super Kings on Sunday night. The victory certainly gave the Rishabh Pant-led side a truckload of confidence. On the other hand, KKR boast a 100% win record in IPL 2024 so far. They have won both the games against SRH by 4 runs and RCB by 7 wickets. Also, Cristiano Ronaldo scored a 65th career and back-to-back hat-tricks for Al Nassr side as they beat Abha 8-0 in the Saudi Pro League on Tuesday. The 39-year-old five-time Ballon d'Or owner's goal tally for this season is a league-leading 29, 7 clear of his nearest rival in the race for the Golden Boot. Ronaldo made it 5 total goal contributions to conclude the goal fest. The 8-0 annihilation sees Al Nassr move up to 62 points, 12 behind league leaders Al Hilal, who also secured a comprehensive 3-0 win at home to Al Ukhdud on Tuesday. India's star weightlifter Bindya Rani Devi bagged bronze medal at the IWF World Cup 2024 in Phuket on Tuesday. Bindya Rani lifted a total of 96 kgs to finish third in the standings. Her efforts fell short of a silver medal of 203 kg at the 2022 Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. Korea's Kang Hyun-kyung won the gold medal with a lift of 234 kg, while Romania's Michaela Cambe took home silver with a personal best of 201 kg. Bindya Rani and Mirabai Chanu are the only Indians competing in the IWF World Cup 2024, which concludes on the 11th of April. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.